Okay, so 2020 is the year businesses worldwide have had to revamp its business models, restructure its workforce operations, and accelerated digital adoption. As we stepped into 2021 with greater uncertainty about our power panel today will discuss and share about the state of businesses in 2021 and leveraging digital technologies as collaborations across industries are at an all-time high. We are humbled and honored to have such a lineup of very prominent business leaders who are here at the forefront of transformational business landscapes. The first guest panelist is Catherine Lian, Managing Director of IBM Malaysia. Catherine and her Malaysia team have helped clients, partners, and key stakeholders put a smart to work in their organizations by applying IBM's leading AI or cognitive solutions, cloud platform, and industry capabilities to advance digital transformation. Our next guest panelist, Datuk Johan Idris, is the managing partner of KPMG Malaysia. Datuk Johan strongly believes that technology is the key enabler and a game changer for achieving enterprise resilience in this new reality. Our last guest panelist, Daniel Bernbeck, has been heading the Malaysian-German Chamber of Commerce and Industry as its CEO and a member of the board since August 2015. Aside from that, he has also been serving as a member of the board of Eurochain Malaysia since 2016. And moderating the panel is the anchor of the Star Business Desk, who has been with the company for 26 years. He is Jagdev Singh Sidhu, the business editor of Star Media Group. Okay, so the panel is getting ready, so please stay tuned. We will be back in just a short while.
Hello everyone, I'm Jagdev from the Star Media Group, and our panelists, our panel members have already been introduced. There's Catherine from IBM, Dr. Johan from KPMG, and to my left is Daniel from the Malaysian-German Chamber of Commerce. It's a very interesting cross-section of people that we have for audience to tune in and listen to the insights that they're about to give us. You've got Catherine with AI and machines, you've got Daniel that deals with technical skills, and you've got Dr. Johan that it's very much more in the business knowledge, intelligence in terms of what KPMG does in its consulting roles. And you've got me as a writer and as a speaker right now. So one thing that we will never forget 2020 is that it's been an interesting year, and I presume each of us has a little perspective of what the year has meant for each of us individually and for the businesses that we represent. I'll start, I suppose, with the members of our panel who are at home right now and joining us online. I'll start with the lady in the house. Catherine, if you can give us a perspective of what 2020 has meant for you, and more importantly for the company they represent, also what it means for changes that what we are experiencing now will mean into 2021 and beyond.
Hi, good morning. Jagdev, Dr.
Yes.
Johan and Daniel, thank you all. It's really a pleasure to be part of the panelists today. Since the COVID-19 pandemic has struck the world, and more importantly, what it actually meant for Malaysia since the first lockdown of MCO period on the 18th of March 2020, all businesses have actually changed. What do I mean by changed? The normal has become a new normal, and it is actually a very, very trying times for all of us out there. All businesses right now must be resilient and also agile. Now, whether we are responding to the changes in the economy, to the buyer behavior, to the distribution networks, to the consumer taste, businesses are becoming more digital and dynamic. In Malaysia, with the current situation, in our opinion, the businesses of any sizes across industries are required to transform how they operate and to stay competitive. We see a myriad of partnerships and the ways that we are working. In the context, IBM believes that there are two things leaders in Malaysia needs to think about to ensure that they realize the radical agility needed for future recovery and resilience. And with this, we have been partnering with our government agencies, the government industries, and also enterprises to really work through the economy and the society at large. We believe that the sustainable benefit and efficient of business processes has to actually be driven through technology, largely artificial intelligence and cloud. Beyond greater efficiency is really a help to reinvent the business throughout Malaysia, throughout the world.
Dr. Johan, if you have a few words.
Thank you, Jagdev. And panelists. 2020. Wow, is a year like no other. No one would expect that we're going to have this thing virtually. I'm sure nobody will expect that work from home or flexible working arrangement is a new norm. It has struck everyone by surprise. And one thing's for sure is that for everyone to survive, everybody needs to adapt, and the real adaptation is digital. And this basically the 2020 have actually, when people say, have accelerated a lot of things digitally. It has changed the minds of the CEO. It has changed the minds of the leadership to say that in order for you to maintain your relevance, in order for you to reach out to your customers, if you are offline, then there is no online. There's survival. It's a matter of life and death. And maybe from a personal level, when the MCO was struck, I was basically taken by surprise. I have literally, and everybody have 24 hours to get things ready. There's no playbook for anyone. You just got to go there and get it ready. But good thing is that, a lot of things in terms of getting ourselves digital enabled has already taken place a couple of years. The way how we do our work, the way how we increase our broadband, the way how we reach out to customers. We have myriad of customers, but their digital adoption is slightly different, because one thing's for sure, when I see in the Malaysian market, and this is very, very much really real life experience, our laborers are cheap. For them to convert this digital transformation, they're going to ask, what's in for me? How does it impact to my bottom line? Do I need to do it now? Can I do it later? So there are myriad of things. How much cost? And some of them are not comfortable to change. Because why? Because maybe they are financially constrained. They need to take a look at the business. Because you want to change something digital, you got to look at it from a wholesome, from the entire value chain, from the start to the end. What are the things that you need to do, and how are you going to do it, and how are you going to reach your customer? I think so. These are all new things to everyone. Every day is a learning experience, including myself. Thank you.
Thanks, Datuk. Daniel, do you have any insight that you want to share with the audience out there?
Yeah, thank you, Jag, and welcome to everybody, and a good morning from my side. Yes, of course, I fully agree with what my panelists have said, Catherine and Datuk Johan as well. And what I feel I could add to that is what we just discussed earlier, that it shows exactly how important it is to be qualified and able to adjust and to learn and to adapt and to change. And it is exactly circling around the ability of every person, every human being that is affected by this change and by the whole process of Industrial Revolution 4.0, as it is called, like the digitalization of our world. It shows two things you have to be able to follow. Otherwise, you will be left behind. So it puts a lot of spotlight on our abilities to adjust and our qualifications to learn and to understand where the world is heading. What is my market doing? What is my competitor doing? What is my colleague in the team doing? What is my boss expecting of me? And all that all together somehow comes to the question and of my personal abilities. The second thing I would like to add is it also shows what a digitalized world does not do, because it somehow separates the black from the white, the light from the dark. So it is showing it here, yes, digitalized world or digital communication, production, deliveries, whatever, can do things easier, maybe more efficient, less time consuming, less resources consuming. like compared to the old world, but it also just clearly shows what it's not able to do, and that is the level of personal interaction. That is also dealing with even mental problems that we see as in the workforce right now. So also the pressure that it puts on everybody's personality and soul and the inner self. I think we have to deal with that, and we will find out what we can substitute with digital tools and what we cannot substitute, and where personal physical presence is still required and will be required for the future. So I think it is quite an interesting learning curve we have been going through in 2020, but I think it's not over yet. We are in the midst of it, and we should not all put all stakes into the digital solutions. There is also still relevance of the analog, traditional, old worldly ways of doing things.
With that, we've heard the opening briefs and the quick takes from our panelists on what they think of the subject that we're going to discuss and some of the questions that I will be raising. But at this moment, I would like to invite the members of the audience who are now currently tuned in listening to our conversation and having heard what our three esteemed members have already briefly put forward. If you have any questions to share, please do forward it, and I will read it out for our panelists to answer. With that, I will get the session started with a few questions touching on the points that have been raised. I know Daniel had talked about some things that will never go out of style. I mean, there's always going to be room for skills. That's always going to be important. And the pandemic has shown us two things. I was just having a conversation with him about it earlier. We all love to eat, and we all couldn't wait, maybe not me, to get our hair cut. So some things won't change at all. But I think what this whole pandemic has done is it has shown us what the future can look like in a very accelerated way. That's the way I look at it. I mean, we've heard about cloud and AI. We have heard about the importance of accelerating some digital or online presence, and like what Daniel said, the skills are still going to be prevalent and important regardless of where or whatever stage of industrialization or transformation that any country or person is going through. But with that, I would like to ask a very broad question. Are Malaysian companies really ready for this? And have they really taken stock of what's in store if they are not? I'll leave it up to whoever would like to answer this question first, and I'll follow up if anybody else has a thought on that. Catherine, if you would like to go ahead.
Right. Thank you, Jagdev. This question is very relevant. Are we all ready, right, for digital transformation? Just like what Daniel has rightly pointed out, the biggest readiness in any organization is about reskilling, and it's about upskilling. Now, organizations right now should really think about adopting a holistic, multimodal skills development to help employees develop both behavioral and also technical skills in the new normal. Now, what I just want to share with you is that the digital transformation is inevitable. The cloud and the AI technology will transform the future of tomorrow. However, the companies have to understand that the cost reinvestment and prioritization has to actually work both ways, both in technology and also in people skills. Now, in Malaysia, I just want to share with you that IBM have the opportunity to launch a program called Pathway in Technology, or we call it PTech, together in partnership with MOE, Ministry of Education, and MDEC to address the digital skills shortage in the country. The PTech is actually designed to break the cycle of inequity in education and to address the skills gaps of labor force by linking education and workforce development. Now, this is actually a readiness of our workforce in 4 to 5 years down the road. What happens now? Within the next couple of years, IBM aspire to continue to partner with government industries, agencies, and also enterprise governments to make sure that the reskillings and the upskillings of the employees are always at the head of the prioritization. Come digital transformation is the upskilling of the people that they need to understand through where technology will move them forward. Without that, the resiliency will actually be slower of a pace, and making sure that with the adoption of technology comes the need to understand where technology will bring forth the education. Now, it is a milestone and it's a journey, and we believe that ecosystem partnership will be substantial in making sure that the Malaysia companies, be it SMEs, industries, and enterprises, will be ready for the future of tomorrow. Thank you.
Welcome. Datuk, I mean, KPMG is a consultant, accountant, got lots of clients who are companies themselves. You see them every day, you can assess their readiness. You know, if I'm just doing a dipstick kind of test, how ready are we?
Well, I'll take my dipstick and check it out, and the temperature is not that good. So okay, I'll bucket them into three group of companies. Those are there, those who are going to get there, and those who are not there yet. You know, okay. These are three basket of companies. Going to put them in this bucket, and maybe I'll take a step back, Jagdev, and do a reflection, a self-reflection. So this digitalization and what it means to us. So a self-reflection, and this is my own experience and our company experience in KPMG. So we had I'm telling a story. We had a partners meeting right about 4 years ago in Putrajaya. Basically sitting down there, we know IR 4.0 is coming. We're going to ask our leadership, and we're just saying that, hey guys, you know, we are leaders of our organization. What's going to impact our organization with IR 4.0 coming in? Because we smell it. What are the business that's going to be impacted the most? And what are we going to do about it? How do we maintain our relevance? How do we maintain our presence? What is our competitor doing? So as a result of that, 4 years ago, then we had a brainstorming. We have a list to say that, hey guys, this is real. We got communication with our global network to say that this business has been disrupted. Clients are looking at ways to get and do things more efficiently, with quality and value for money, and doing within the region, because you know every country has a different economics of scale, different costs. How are they going to do it? And you see Malaysia, they have shared service center, and why they have it there? Because you know it's about how you look at your supply chain. So we look at our business to say that, okay, this business is going to affect it. So what are we going to do? So in the firm, we've invented a group of people. We invested talent, multi-year, multi-million dollars exercise to build digital platform for ourselves. Because we cannot go out and tell the client to say that you got to be digitally ready when we ourselves are not digitally ready. And proof to that is that these are a couple of things that we have invested. Looking at a way how we automate things, looking at a way how we reach out to clients, looking at a way of how we do complex things more simple with technology, minimize mistake, increase experience. And like any technology that we adopt, there are teething issues. There are behavioral issues. There are skills gap. And what Catherine mentioned, behavior is very, very important. When you talk about digitalization and when you talk about digital transformation, I must say the most critical part of it is your behavior transformation. Your mindset must be there to say that I will want to change. Then you need to include with a skill set. And companies need to provide that relevant skill sets, not to all, because some of them are using the technology, some of them are building the technology. So there are two different people they got to look at. And basically through that is a journey whereby you get people to get into it and take that experience there and back to the companies that we have here. Some of them which got support, the multinationals, I mean the likes of IBM, which has great supports within the network of what's happening in China, what's happening in US, their technology adoption, we can see their progress is much more. They're much more further ahead. The GLCs have invested a little bit on this, but the biggest business, that we have in fact in Malaysia is the SMEs. Who's going to help the SMEs? That represents 70% of Malaysian GDP. How are they going to adopt this digital adoption, for them to survive? So these are very real things for them to survive. They need to do these baby steps. The first baby steps on all this digital adoption is to make sure that their offline is all online. They need to get in touch with the customers, making sure that this MCO thing that you cannot reach out to customers, you're able to sell your products. So that's why you can see. But I would agree with my other fellow speakers. There are certain things that you can do online. There are certain things you not need to do the traditional way. I'm the old school. I like the traditional way. When I engage with people, and I engage with Catherine, Catherine, by the way, we are in the same building, although I didn't see Catherine for more than a year because she's working from home. I'm sometimes working from home, but I need a face-to-face. We are just human. Humans are social animal. We need to socialize. We cannot be just staying at home. So they need to have a balance. But coming back on the digitalization strategy, there are a lot that need to be done. And it's just not digitalization. Digitalization is an enabler for you to improve your process, to get your process ready. And maybe just a little bit back on what we are doing right now. How are we going to do our work if we are not engaged on the digitalized manner? So like us, when MCO started, we still can do our work because everything is on the cloud. We have invested in cloud a couple of years back. So we are reaping the benefit, the changes on it. My employees are worried because when we had an MCO, the first thing they say that, hey boss, would I get my pay? And the first thing you say that, do I have a laptop? Because my front line has a laptop. My back office, not all of them have a laptop. The good thing is that we have more than 150 laptops spare, so we can give it to them and they can go back home and work. And these are the things that we are looking at it. And sometimes it works for them, sometimes it doesn't. And when we find out that what works is that if you have a house of a family member of 10, it's difficult for you to work because people keep coming in the room and you need a space for you to look at it. So I think so that is the long and short of the story I want to tell.
Okay, but you all both spoke about the changes that we on a personal level, professional level, and on a country level are undergoing right now, partly brought about by the pandemic and partly also is because of the necessity for change. But throughout all of this, Daniel and I were speaking earlier, and Datuk, you touched on it. There's still going to be the relevance and need for some traditional skills that people have. The technicians, the carpenters, and then more importantly, the people who are going to install the robots that were supposed to take over our jobs. So there was always going to be somebody out there quite relevant, Daniel. I mean, you are in the Malaysian-German Chamber of Commerce. Germany is one of the forefront leaders when it comes to robotics. Can you just tell us, not to pour cold water on everybody's future, why is it that there are still going to be some sort of relevance, maybe even more so, when it comes to technically proficient people that have the necessary skills to survive into the IR 4.0 age?
Yeah, I think this is, of course, touching the point that, or maybe the reason why I was invited to this panel here, because MGCC, Malaysian-German Chamber of Commerce, stands for the German Dual Vocational Training Model. And the German Dual Vocational Training Model is that we are offering here for Malaysian companies is based on the German education model in Europe. And it has proven successful because throughout the last 2-3 centuries, I would say, the 4 industrial revolutions have gone through, and somehow the technology has been advanced, and it has all this advancement, all this development has been based on the skills and the basic and fundamental education that the staff, the people, the technicians, also the engineers we're working with. And it is, I think, what hopefully helps Germany stay afloat in a competitive world, because we also are under high pressure from countries that are advancing fast, leapfrogging some areas where we had some years to learn. Others are just learning from us and avoiding these mistakes and all the costs and time that has been going into wrong decisions. And we have to stay competitive. And I think the only way we can do that is advancing even further and basing more on creativity, innovation, and in the resilience in disruptive times. And I think this is only possible if you have the right skill set in the educational system. So our interest in Malaysia is to really focus on this kind of abilities, of this kind of upskilling. And it's not only simply giving a person a laptop and a handphone and then letting him or her run away and go ahead. I think it is very much understanding problems and coming up with solutions, because it's not there. It's not plug and play. And even if you ask Germany, like having coined the term Industry 4.0 by Professor Kagermann on the Hanover Fair in 2011, now we are talking about Industry 5.0 already. It is not that Germany is there. It's not that German companies are all digitalized. It is not. And it should not be like that. Malaysian companies feel like, oh, we are so far behind. No, you're not, because you have, exactly like Germany, you have companies that are already on the way, that have already invested in digital production methods and distribution and communication and AI and all that. It's already happening here in Malaysia. And then you have others that are not, that are even not considering. I have just looked at a survey here. In Germany from 2018 to 2020, there was an increase of 49% to 59% of companies that are already in Industry 4.0. So it is 2 years ago only that it was below 50%. Now it's slightly higher. Of course, the other numbers are dropping, the ones that are saying we are not going into that. This has been almost 10%, and now it's close to 1 or 2%. So there is a development. It is a revolutionary process. It's not that Malaysia is not there and other countries are already done. It is like Datuk Johan said, it is both worlds are coexisting. There is traditional manufacturing and there will be digital and modern manufacturing at the same time.
All right. I think that's why it's called the economy, and the supply chain. There are various levers and levels to everything out there, from the barber to the professor. I think they all play a role, irrespective of how they all fit into the new age, so to speak. But one of the main things people are most worried about, I would tend to think from it from two perspectives. One is from the operational company perspective, is the cost of getting into IR 4.0. When you start to look at the digitization or digital transformation strategy, you're thinking big investments. Is it a big impediment, or will the payback period really prove worthy or worthwhile for any company to embark on it? And the second part of my question is that on a personal level, for people out there, how ready should you also be, just like companies and in economy, to be IR 4.0 ready, to future-proof yourself in terms of when you want to start entering into the workforce? Does it require retraining, reskilling, etc.? Because I think unemployment is a big issue, especially amongst the youth, and people need to get ready for the new challenges ahead. So my question is on two parts. I'll throw out the first part to any one of our panelists who would like to answer from the company's perspective, and then I would like to follow up on a personal level or from the employee or on the individual level. So I'll throw it up to, I suppose, Catherine, if you would like to take, in terms of the cost of doing it, especially if you're not going to do it.
Yeah, I think this is so relevant, especially to all the audiences who are actually representing the SME organizations today, where Datuk Johan has rightly pointed out is the anchor and the pillar of our economy growth, which 70% of the account is really where we are today, dependent on the success of how our trajectory move forward will be from our economic standpoint. Now, digital transformation is really a whole new way of looking at sustained cost reduction in the form of cost optimization. Now, it supports digital operating model. It's all about optimizing and reprioritizing the costs that we have been working on today. For example, IBM being a largest technology solutions provider in the world, we are probably one step ahead from many other companies who is trying to adopt digital transformation. And most of the companies will be asking, what is in it for me? What would be the return of investments? And looking at the readiness of the company, will it actually yield the optimization of management costs compared to where they were before? Now, there are actually two schools of thoughts to look at this, because the sustained cost transformation, in IBM's opinion, starts by institutionalizing every day the tasks in a more efficient ones. Now, making the shift of robotics and automation is an example. So it is all about the replacement of certain skill sets to be more efficient, and it's also making sure that the insight source of the conceived operational capabilities and functions are being met. It has to be a win-win initiative. Now, organizations, in my opinion, can leverage new technologies and digital capabilities to offer better customer experience and growth. Now, through digital transformation, organizations can monetize their new business models and accelerate the shift to digitalize their products and design, create better business outcomes, and perhaps enhance customer relationships. And embedding this situation network is important. Now, how ready are we? How much of cost transformation it requires? It really has to actually be part of the return of investments a company should look at. In our opinion, when we digitalize the technology, it also requires upskilling. For the first 3 years, the cost optimization could be a break-even, but the subsequent years, as we journey around, it will actually be a great acceleration. Now, it all really depends on how much a company will want to adopt, but the way to go forward is definitely inevitable. And with the cloud, AI, blockchain, and also IoT running through on board, many ways that we have been touching lives, many ways that we have been using of these technologies is what has been the normal for us. For example, utilization of Grab to order food, to ways to actually get into a location. It has always been part of our lives, but we have not seen how much of the cost optimization that has been put forth in terms of development of these platforms in these various companies. So we hope that at IBM, we can be able to actually partner with organizations and companies across to actually showcase on the true digital transformation that a company requires, and perhaps also value add to the knowledge base that we're going to actually transfer between what we have actually seen and the best case reference sites that we have actually been adopting across the world. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Catherine. But from a personal level, I mean, everybody's going to be scared. Can I keep my job? Can I get employed? Daniel, what do people need to do?
Yeah, I think this is, of course, there's two things. One, from the employer perspective, it is always the question of costs. Does it pay off? Is there a return on investment? When will it pay off? It's the same in Germany. I just use my statistics because I think, just to give it as a Malaysian-German chamber, we are the bridge between the two countries. We look at both sides of the bridge, and we see that 73% of the Germans employers that have been asked to participate in the survey said that investment costs, or the burden of an investment into an IR 4.0 is like hindering them going into that or further into that and investing more, because they're all cautious. They are all like everybody else, like every businessman. They are considerate And is it now the right time? Is this the right solution already? Or should I better wait and see the others make their mistakes and I then leapfrog and learn? So this is, I think, from the employer perspective. From the employee's perspective, there is this question of, would I keep my job? Will I be able to hold on? And will I be transforming with the right pace into the right direction to stay relevant and to stay productive for my employer? Just to also put a spotlight on that, in Germany, companies are employing more staff in the digital fields of production. So they are finding or creating jobs. Of course, there is also some that will somehow leave behind or will be out of work. I compare it with when the automotive industry launched in Germany in the end of the 19th century. There was people that doing horseshoes for the horses. Of course, they somehow, when everybody went into automotive, the horseshoe production was falling behind. But then they had to transform into fixing punctured tubes on tires, because tires were suddenly the issue. So this is the transformation. And looking at Malaysia's tech-savvy young population and seeing so many German companies putting their call centers and their service hubs for the Eastern region, for Asia, into Malaysia because of the languages, because of English, the ability to speak English well. Still, there is a lot of jobs being created in Malaysia because of the digitalization. So it is the question, if you can be open to learn and to go ahead, to advance, that is all you need. There will be a small niche for you if you're open. What Datuk Johan said earlier, it is the mindset, the openness, the readiness, and not be stricken by fears and pushing it away and saying, no, not for me. Yeah. I think that's enough. And then there will be solutions.
I think you got to take it upon yourself to make the change if you want to still remain relevant in the working environment and employment opportunities ahead of us. But Dr. Johan, I mean, I'm coming back to you to bridge both parts from the employer and employee's perspective. But on what you spoke about earlier about SMEs themselves, we are going through a pandemic. Revenues have been crushed for a lot of people. Business is down, and now you've got the need to make that change. How are SMEs going to cope? And must they cope and even take on more burden in order to survive in the years ahead, brought about by the demands of IR 4.0?
Okay. Thank you, Jagdev. I pick up the word survive. You got to put that front center of the SMEs. If you want to survive, these are the costs that you need to incur. And maybe a change of language when you talk about cost. Every time people talk about cost, people feel that you're going to hurt more on my wallet, my pocket. Look at it as an investment. Talk investments rather than cost. Talks about survivability. So it's a matter of survival. So for some of these SMEs that you have a smaller wallet size that you want to invest in technology, then take baby steps. You do not need to do a quantum leap. Look at what are the processes that you require for you to maintain your competitive edge. What are the right kind of technology that can deliver a slight competitive advantage over your competitors, because it will spell the difference between success and failure. Technology is not about doing things faster, better, cheaper, because everybody is doing a trend. No, it must be relevant to you. I mean, we have so much technology, but choose the technology that is relevant. And we in KPMG also had partner with Harvey Nash, survey about 4,200 IT leaders around the world under the CIO survey, that we found out that companies around the world have spent almost 15 billion US a week on technology. Just not technology to enable them to work and feel safe, but also technology to ensure that what they do, what they transact are in a place that is secure, that builds trust to their customers. Things like cybersecurity is front center, because when you want to engage with your customer and you engage with them, you send them some stuff, you want to make sure you get paid. You got to make sure that, customers' experience are there. they feel secure, they can trust you in the digital world. And because in the digital world, they have not maybe seen you operate with you, they must have some level of communication and trust to say that I'm here in Malaysia. I'm going to be, especially SME, I'm going to be here for the longest time, because customers, when buying your product or services, they want to know that later on, if I need some of my product from clarification or services that needs to be looked at, are you still there? Are you going to be there for the product lifespan that I have? I don't want you to buy a product, then 2-3 years down the line that you're no longer there. You're closed shop. So basically, in the top of the mind of the CEO, there's a lot of things that they looked at. And when we had a CEO outlook survey around in here, we see that about 61 CEO in Asia Pacific has already agreed to put in more capital investments to buy new technology. Catherine, will be good business for you, Catherine. And what we say that what would take normally 3 to 4 years, as in terms of technology adoption, and what you have will take now 3 to 4 months. But they are also looking at how they are ensuring they are able to invest in the technology to make their business more resilient. So these are all these things. And when they want to invest, they also want to make sure that, hey, if I want to invest in technology, what other costs that I need to look at, basically defer and invest in the enabler to ensure that you are able to survive. Not big quantum leap, especially for SME. Just baby steps to ensure that you're okay, you're right. And every time when you do this investment, sometimes there will be success stories, that is, failure stories. So when you do invest, baby steps, see what works, what doesn't, have a trial and error, have a proof of concept. So from employees' point of view, in terms of me and my organization, I looked at recruiting close to about 350 to 400 new graduates a year. And one of the key areas that I'm looking in, I'm not just looking at accounting graduates, but what I'm looking at is those people who have a wrap around technology knowledge, the things about doing programming, a little bit of programming, understanding about data analytics, understanding about the new software tools. Like people in my marketing team, they need to know things like what is active campaign, how we're going to look at customers digitally to get new things, get new insights in terms of how we're going to approach things. So it is relevant for the marketplace, and it's also the obligation for employee to make sure that everybody that you've engaged or you have staff upskill them, because some of these things, robots will take on their place, and some you can't. There's a joke around in my organization, say that how do you digitalize your driver? I don't believe in driverless car, even though I believe in someone there driving my car. So some things you can, some things you can't, but make sure that you place your investment in the right business, in the right process, so that you can achieve the necessary uplift in terms of your business survivability.
Okay.
Thank you.
I think I hope the changes that we are going to see now does not mean the end from the mailroom to CEO path for some of the success stories that we have seen. But we have got a few questions from viewers out there. There's one that's piqued my interest. It says that how do we ensure that the laws and the policies that we have from the government's perspective are going to protect and help companies that are going into this new norm? There are other issues also that needs to be taken into perspective, whereby you've got cyber scams, personal data issues. Then you've also got whether the tax codes and government policies are also relevant in terms of fostering the acceleration and adoption of IR 4.0. I think we will speak to one guy who's got a Malaysia-German title to his job description in terms of person who deals quite a bit of policy, and like our two other panelists. But Daniel, can you bring us to how are you going to answer some of these questions that our readers or viewers have brought up?
Thank you, Jack. Yes, and by the way, I'm also a lawyer, so I'm also involved in this kind of a perspective. Yes, and I think this is very important. And you mentioned the cybersecurity, and I think what the governments need to do is not only a strategy where they put like incentives and maybe tax relief somewhere here and there to encourage, especially SMEs that are a bit scared because it takes a lot of money to invest in technology. But there is help from the industry because there is suppliers from the industry that support it and make it maybe more feasible. You can keep your old machines, you just add some features to that, and then it's already working digitally. So there is help from the industry. And I think where the government, and I have been asked a few years ago by the MITI minister, Datuk Mustafa Mohammed, already at that time, what should the government do? And I think what is most important for governments to support the industrial development is provide data security, data safety, and make sure that there is certain standards of data languages or data formats, because this is absolutely necessary to be able to communicate across borders, across continents, across technologies and facilities inside the factories. But especially Germans are very sensitive to personal data and data protection. They don't want to be seeing their data floating somewhere, leaked somewhere. So that is particularly true for Germany. So the second most important reason why they are still hesitant is the data protection issues. It's not maybe so much here in Asia and Malaysia, but still I think the government and the laws and regulations have to make sure that the data of companies and people are protected. And I think that is a very high on the list of the governmental and legal duties supporting the industry.
Okay. I think we are almost coming to an end in terms of our session here, and unfortunately there are quite a few questions that have just popped up on the screen, and I do hope the organizers would be able to direct some of these questions to some of the participants, so maybe you will have the time to answer some of our viewers directly in terms of the questions they have raised. But first and foremost, and lastly, I'd like to thank everybody here that has participated in what I would say is a very thought-provoking and engaging conversation that we are going to have on the changes that we are seeing before us and are going to experience in the years ahead. And I do hope that it doesn't change all of us permanently in terms of how we interact. And I do hope there will come a time where all four of us will be in a room having the same kind of conversation in a new normal, in the old kind of way. And with that, I would like to thank everybody who has tuned in. I hope that you've gained some knowledge and you found that your time spent viewing this conversation and listening to what our experts had to share was actually very fruitful to you. With that, thank you for tuning in, and thank you very much to all our participants, panelists, for engaging us today. Thank you, and have a nice day.